what is your age and life stage? Now, John asked which investment option to choose at this stage of life. I didn't catch what stage of life John was at, but we've got people on the line in all of these demographics. And if we were to make a broad sweep generalization about which investment option is right at particular ages, broadly provide this guidance. Someone who's an accumulator is someone generally between the ages of 18 to 45. They're focused on paying down the mortgage, they've got a fair bit of time before they can access the superannuation, and they really want most of their money to be available to them, so their incomes to be available to them to either pay down the mortgage or pay for education expenses or other things. They don't want to put too much money into super at this point in time. It's more about paying for the expenses as they've got potentially a growing family. People in this phase are generally suitable for them to be in either the highest risk option, because they've got sufficient time to see through the ups and downs in the market with the fact that over the longer term they will outperform by being in a higher risk option than in the likes of cash. So generally they're in the highest two options within Christian Super, the high growth or the growth options. Someone who is approaching retirement or transitioning to retirement, and generally we'd say that's between the ages of 45 to 65, potentially they've paid down the mortgage, their expenses might be low or falling as kids are moving out of home, and they might be starting to focus on retirement or semi-retirement, moving to part-time work. Now, if this is the scenario, then moving down a notch in terms of your investment risk is a reasonable thing to do, because you want to see less volatility in your portfolio. You don't want to see large swings up and down like we've seen during the GFC. So moving down to, an option or two is a reasonable thing to do. The ideal, as we'll talk about in some later slides, is to move from the high risk options to the lower risk options when markets are at a high point. Now that's a challenge at the moment because we're not necessarily at a high point at the moment, so when people are approaching retirement wanting to move down these notches in terms of risk, it's not necessarily the ideal time to do it. So potentially you do that over time, you stagger it over time, or you take a part of your portfolio down a notch, or a combination of these types of strategies to get to the investment option that you want. Now, someone who's in retirement, they've got a consistent financial situation, regular payments are required to support them, and things are a bit more stable and consistent, so they're able to, if they've got enough funds to live on, often you would be in the stable, ethical stable, or if you're really conservative, you'd be in ethical cash. The drawback of these more conservative options is that you've got to make sure that you're able to provide for your long-term requirements, and this is one of the increasing risks as we're living longer, which is longevity risk, being able to have sufficient funds to last our lifetime. And if we stick in these, in ethical cash, for example, for the next 25 years, you've got to make sure that we'll provide for your need and meet your goals over that period of time as well. So if there's a broad generalizations of the options in which you could invest at various age and stages.